welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy, sometimes Mouse. I talk about books and book-related things, and every once in a while I talk about personal life shit, which is what I'm going to be doing today. As of posting this video, it will have been about 2 years since I started living by myself. I am going to talk about the self-reflection I learned in that, some of the negatives in that, the mental health struggles with all of that. I'm also going to talk about the incarceration struggles with just generally the system and how I feel about it and how it affected me. With that being said though, I also am going to give some trigger warnings because I think that I'm going to be talking about some heavy stuff here, and I want to make sure that everybody is aware and can take care of themselves effectively. So I am going to talk about depression, agoraphobia, alcohol, but not like in a relapse kind of way. I never got sober and then relapsed or anything like that. It's just my relationship with alcohol and how it's changed. Incarceration, obviously, and finances. And the legal system as a whole also. I think that that is all of the biggest trigger warnings I can think of right now. So loneliness, ADHD, those are some other things we're going to talk about. So hopefully that covers it. And if those topics are hard for you to handle, just go ahead and skedaddle. It won't hurt my feelings any. So let's talk about how this worked for me, how living alone for 2 years felt for me. So I have never lived alone, ever. And so when my husband was incarcerated in 2021, I knew there was obviously I knew there was a chance. We have been dealing with this legal system for almost 10 years now, for as long as we've been together. Actually, he had not even been indicted yet by the time we got together, but it was on the table that it could happen. So in 2015 is when all of this started, and it will be done by the end of 2024, which is, I cannot emphasize enough how slow the legal system is, especially when it goes through a smaller court system. However, also side note, I do need to add one more little caveat to this video. The comments are going to be heavily filtered on this video, and if any comment comes across that feels like it risks my safety, my spouse's safety, my family's safety, I will be deleting it and also likely blocking the individual that posted it. This is just to protect my peace and to protect my space. So if you dig into any of this information, just know that not all of the facts are posted really anywhere. I don't even talk about all of the facts of this matter for the sake of my own safety and my husband's safety. So I just need to give that one more disclaimer, you know. With that being said, going back to what I was talking about, the legal system is slow. I knew that this would be happening at some point, but that's largely why I eloped in 2021, because in the state of Texas, you cannot have contact visits without being being related, or like immediate family, or being married. That's it. That's the only reason you can have contact visits. I have learned that if there's somebody who's incarcerated for a really, really long time and literally no one visits them, there are some exceptions to the rule. That would not have been the case here. So if I had to talk on that plastic phone where I can't hear the whole time and not hugged my spouse for 2 years, I think I would have lost it. And like, I don't even like physical touch. I think I would have absolutely lost my mind. So I'm glad that we eloped, but we eloped in 2021, and he did not even get incarcerated until 2022. So again, legal system moves very slow. Some self-reflection things that occurred during these 2 years was, one, I think that everybody should live alone for at least a few months, because you really learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about how you talk to yourself and your quirks, and you almost go back to that teenager self, right, where you were just like really into stuff and nobody was really judging you for it. I mean, they were, but like you didn't care as much, or at least I didn't care as much. I don't know. You can get into fandom content that you were into as a teen and you kind of abandoned. Again, this is just for me, but like I got back into Doctor Who, right? Like that was, I'm really into Interview with a Vampire right now. All of these things you just kind of learn about yourself, and you get very, very, very comfortable with yourself or very uncomfortable with yourself very quickly. Sometimes both. There are times that I'm like, oh my god, this bitch never shuts up, and I'm talking about me. I'm literally talking about me. I learned, did not know this, but I should have known this because ADHD things, but I learned that boredom is a heavy trigger for me. I am not good when I'm bored. So I'm constantly doing things, like constantly keeping myself busy. I've picked up new little hobbies like clay and painting and that kind of thing. I'm also very creative when I'm by myself, and I didn't realize that that largely required me to be by myself, to think of these ideas and to do, you know, drawing and all of those things. I also read more with my eyes when I'm by myself. I think that's just because there's no risk of anybody coming in and interrupting me, etc. But boredom, yeah, definitely a trigger. Something else I learned about myself during this time was that I am personally not responsible enough to keep liquor in my house if nobody else lives here. But also, I've kind of determined that I think other than for special occasions or as gifts or something, that I don't want us to go out of our way to purchase liquor to keep in the house. I like liquor being a special thing. Like when you go out to dinner and you have a mixed drink made for you, or as a gift for a birthday or a wedding or whatever. When no one is around, I struggle to set limits that I will follow because who's holding me to them, if that makes sense. And with like beer, wine, cider, etc., I can see how much I've had already, and I don't have to go, oh, I don't remember, and then like push the limits too far. And my health really thanks me that I also made this rule, because my heart condition does not react well to the lack of sleep that inherently happens from drinking. So here we are. I also, time alone also made me much more confident. I don't know how to explain that, but that is something I've registered and talked about with my parents a little bit. Living alone allowed me to flourish in a way that I hadn't fully been able to do. It started a bit when I moved out of my parents' house and into my best friend's house. Like I did a lot more with my appearance, like my makeup and my hair and all of that. And then when I moved in with my spouse, it was like, oh, I don't even really feel like doing makeup and that kind of thing, as much as it's fun for me, but like my spouse just likes the way that I look, the way that I am, and I get to make my space look the way that we like, right? Now that I live alone, for now, right? It's obviously that is changing. By the time this video comes out, my husband will be home. I am much more confident in my decoration choices. I am much more confident in the way that I dress and I look and I talk, because I'm only doing it for me. All of the time it is only for me. I don't turn my camera on at work. You guys are mostly the ones who see me. When I go out with my parents, obviously, I make some changes, but I get to experiment and play around with the way that I talk or explain something. I get to experiment with hair and makeup. I get to move things around in the house with nobody seeing them, and they get to look like trash for a little while I figure out where things need to go. All of that has made me much more confident, and I'm really grateful for that experience. I'm really grateful that I got to learn these things about myself, be more comfortable with myself, and just kind of play around with the experience that is being me and what that means and how fun that can be. Because I don't think I realized how much I like myself until I got to live by myself. Because I really didn't know. There are times I don't like myself, but when you are the only person you have to hang out with, you find out very quickly what parts you don't like and what parts you do like about hanging out with yourself. And then you get to change the parts you don't like. And I learned that there's not that many. All of the things that made me feel like I hated myself really had to do with interacting with others. So when I took that part out, I got to learn that I'm alright. I'm kind of a cool person sometimes. And that was fun, and I appreciate that. Next, though, I'm going to talk about the really negative things about me specifically. The things I did not like. Not really the things I didn't like, but the mental health struggles that I specifically had to go through in the 2 years, because it was not all, wonderful. It largely wasn't wonderful. Well, the first half was not wonderful, and then the second half was like, all right, it gets a little long. I gotta deal with it. So let's talk about some of those negative things. So for me, there were days that the only reason I got up was because of my pets. If I did not have Cotter and Mister, and now Tibble, but I largely just had Cotter and Mister, I don't think I would be as okay as I am today. Cotter makes me go outside every day, right? Like, I take her on walks. If I even think about not getting up on time to feed Mister, he will break into my bedroom. I am thankful that they have been here to make me insane, because they do. They drive me nuts, especially as my older pets are senior pets now, and they're old and cranky and do dumb things that they know they're not supposed to because they're old, and they're like, well, I'm old now, I get to do what I want. Yeah, I would not be here right now if it were not for my pets. And then I realized nothing had brought me genuine joy, straight up genuine joy, until I got Tibble. I did not know that, like, it didn't register to me that nothing brought me genuine, laugh out loud, feel good about life joy until I got Tibbled back in June, so more recently. I didn't realize it had been that long since I felt real joy. Tibble still brings me an immense amount of joy. Watching him interact with the other pets, watching him interact in my space, he was something new and alive, and it was refreshing. And it gave me something. My pet stuff largely got pretty repetitive and almost redundant, and so that stopped being something that was like kept me on my toes or anything like that. And now with Tibble, I'm back to having something new happens every single day with that guy, and that keeps life more refreshing. But if it weren't for my pets, I would not be here. Also, having no one here to hold me accountable made it very hard not to lapse into previous unhealthy behaviors. And I'm not going to get into what those behaviors were, just because I really don't want to trigger anybody on this point. But when there's no one watching you, it is very hard to hold yourself accountable on not participating in those things, because it's like, who will know? Who will care? Who will see? And the answer is no one. And that makes it very difficult. And you kind of have to face the fact that you stop doing so many of those habits, mostly because of how they would affect other people and not so much how they affected you. And it makes it very hard not to participate in them. So there's that. I'm not going to continue to talk about it because it'll make me cry, because it's something I struggled a lot with in the last 2 years. I also learned that through depression you can develop agoraphobia. For me it was a mix of depression and also the trauma that everything was happening to me. So like I was experiencing trauma in live mode, right? And like it wasn't like I was coming out of a traumatic situation and going, oh wow, that was traumatizing. No, every single day I would wake up and be like, cool, another day of trauma. That's great, I love it here. Like it was constant trauma, and that was making me anxious. And then I was deeply depressed because I was by myself all of the time until my parents moved close by, so I was like interacting with them all of the time. I was just at home with my pets by myself, and I was deeply depressed. I couldn't afford food. I couldn't afford fun. It was depressing. And then I couldn't leave my house all of a sudden. I would stand at the front door and just sob. I would panic. I couldn't breathe. I would start getting ready to go, and then I would just sit in the floor with my pets sobbing because I could not leave the house. And I was so embarrassed by this. Like at the time I still was in therapy, and I was telling my therapist, I was like, I don't know what to do with this. Like I don't know why I can't leave. Like I could leave for social things. If I knew I was going to be with other people that I liked and trusted, then it was okay. But leaving just by myself to go do by myself things, I couldn't do it. And a lot of people have said like, oh, well, that makes sense. Like, I won't even, like, to go out to eat by yourself? That's crazy. Why are you going out to eat by yourself? Or like to hang out with yourself at a park? Like, I don't do that. Like, no, but you don't understand. I'm so introverted that I've been doing that for years. I loved going out by myself. So suddenly not being able to go do those things, like go hang out at the library, devastating. It was devastating. I did not understand why it was happening, because I didn't have something that was like, oh, something scary is gonna happen outside. Like that wasn't what it was. I just straight up couldn't leave. And it was embarrassing. It made me feel silly. like, I would just be like, yeah, this is dumb as fuck. Like, the whole time it was happening, I would be like, this is literally the dumbest thing my brain has ever done. Are you kidding me right now? Like, this is so stupid. And yeah, it was embarrassing. And I got through it. I still struggle sometimes to leave the house. Like, this past weekend, I couldn't leave. There were errands I needed to do and I couldn't do them. I just could not leave the house. It's not as difficult as it used to be, but yeah. There are times where if I'm just like emotionally drained, my brain is like, if you leave home, something bad will happen, so you can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. I'm hoping when my husband's home that that's no longer something that happens to me, but we'll see. I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna continue to be a problem. But it has improved. Leaps and bounds improved. Joining a book club helped a ton. I love that I have a neighborhood book club, and like walking down to their houses and hanging out with them and knowing that I have people around was really, really helpful. But yeah. Another negative is if you have anything medical that happens to you while you are living alone, that shit sucks. That sucks so bad. When I dislocated my knee, I was very grateful my parents lived like right down the road, not right down the road, but they lived close by, because if it had happened the year before when they lived an hour and 40 minutes away from me, my mother would have had to move in with me for a month. Like, I couldn't walk. And so taking care, that was one of the first time in a while that I had a full breakdown because I felt so helpless. It was devastating to be that helpless. I couldn't walk. I got in bed and my knee kept dislocating basically, and I couldn't breathe. I was in so much pain, and I knew I needed to not, like, I had rolled my way into bed, like using my desk chair, rolled all the way to my bedroom, got into my bed, which is very high off the ground, got laid down, realized that being in my bed was making the pain worse and I wouldn't be able to sleep there, and couldn't figure out how to get out of bed. I never want to go through that again. I never want to experience being that helpless again. So those are the negatives. Let me talk a little bit about the incarceration system, and then I'll wrap this video up. Hi. If this is in a different position, it's because my camera got too hot. So this part will be pretty short. The incarceration system sucks. Yep, that's it. That's the video. No, I'm just kidding. So Texas uses a program called CLEARURSHT, which is how you have to communicate with people. It costs it costs about 25 cents a message. So a stamp, rather. So for every message you send, you use a stamp. And if you want them to be able to reply without using any of their own stamps, you send a reply stamp. So largely, up until more recently, every single message was costing me 50 cents to speak to my significant other. On top of that, at visitation, you bring quarters, because that is the only time that they will get to have snacks. And the snacks are all overpriced. So, first you have to go get quarters, which is, you just don't be having quarters these days, you know? People just don't have them anymore. You gotta go get them. The sodas cost $2.50. The little Cheez-It bags, snack bags, cost $1.25 each. You only get to go up one time, so if you don't think of what you wanted, you're fucked. You only get to go up the one time. Some COs make up rules. They just be making up rules. When Aiden and I were holding hands at one point at visitation, I was just like very lightly running my fingernails across his hand, and suddenly a CO said, "Oh, that's not allowed," which is not true. I also had a CO tell me that I couldn't tuck my quarters on the table. That is not true. I've had a CO tell me that I couldn't hold Aiden's hand at all. Also not true. I think that maybe that CO didn't look at the sheet to see what our relationship is. They just be making shit up. They just be making shit up sometimes, and it's very frustrating. If you have a visit that is scheduled too close to count time and they miscount, you can be waiting for 2 hours for a visit. And if your visit is scheduled at 2 and you wait for 2 hours, so then you don't get to see your loved one until 4 p.m., well, that sucks, bitch, because they close at 5. They close at 5. So, oh, did you think you were going to get your 2-hour visit because they screwed up, so they should have to stay later? No. You won't. You won't. Securus still charges long distance fees, and I still have a phone number from the state I lived in before, So, because why would I change it? Nobody's doing long distance, right? Secure still charges long distance fees, which is fucking outrageous if you ask me. So it costs about $3.50 a phone call for a 30-minute phone call. You only get 30 minutes. And sometimes she will cut you off early. She will just cut you off early. I don't know why, but she will. That's great. Love that. What else did I put? If you are someone who has any kind of assault trauma, being pat down, while it is not nearly as difficult as the incarcerated individuals are having to experience being searched, being pat down, I have to disassociate because I never know how the COs are going to do it. Sometimes they put their hands in my waistband, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they put their hands in my hair, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they touch me over the chest and sometimes they don't. And I literally never know when they're going to do what. As time progressed and I got to know the COs, I would know who was going to do what and like how much of myself I needed to detach from. But every once in a while they'd get somebody new and I would not know what was going to go on. If you wear a bra that has a underwire in it, you should be prepared for the potential that they will make you go into the bathroom and show them that you are wearing a bra with an underwire to it, because when you get on the property, you are consenting to any form of search. You can deny it and then leave, but you are consenting to any form of search. As a civilian who hasn't done anything wrong, they can and will do lockdowns randomly. They can and will cancel visits randomly. They can and will turn off the access to the tablets, whatever. When it comes to the things that happen to your loved one in a Texas state prison, not a federal, but a Texas state prison, most of them don't have, I think 80% of them do not have air conditioning, and it got up to 109 degrees, not in the feels like, but like a legitimate 109 degrees outside Fahrenheit here in Texas. People die because of the heat, and TDCJ has blatantly said in court files that they lie on the paperwork so that it doesn't say that people died in the heat. They are legally required to give them respite, and then they don't. They will write them up for asking for respite too many times, which is not allowed. And if you file grievances, sure, go ahead, but there's a chance that they will retaliate. The COs can and often will retaliate. We were really lucky that my spouse is likable inherently, but I think that some people don't know how to play to authority, maybe, and so negative things occur. The guards will lie to the inmates. The COs will straight up lie to the inmates about stuff. They've lied about how things get mailed. They've lied about lockdowns. They've lied about rules. They just lie. They just fucking make shit up. I don't know if it's like on purpose or what, but they'll just lie. And then your loved one will come messaging you, hey, what is happening here? Does this mean what? Am I gonna get released early? Da 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 da. No, baby. Unfortunately, they lied. No, they lied to you. Because I guess they thought it was funny. Not all of the COs are bad people. I have met a lot of them that I like. A lot, actually. They cheer us on. They agree that my husband and my family don't particularly seem like people who would be in this situation. Not to assume that anybody should be in this situation. I'm against incarceration as a whole. But there are also COs who have this job specifically because they want to be able to flex power. And those people should not have the jobs that they have. And those people are the people that make me angriest. So, yeah, that's it. That's the video. This is going to be long. I already know it's going to be long because I filmed two 10-minute parts, and this is now the third part of this video, and it is at about 8 minutes. And I know I'm going to cut quite a bit down, but it's going to be a long video, so I'm sorry in advance. But I just thought like a cool, quick breakdown of like how the 2 years was and what incarceration was genuinely like, because there were a lot of things that I just wasn't saying because I didn't want anyone to see it and then retaliate against my spouse. But as of posting this, he'll be home, so considerably less worried about it. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I understand if you didn't. It's not my normal content. I will go back to our regularly scheduled book content next week, or the week after. I don't remember when this gets posted, but if you enjoyed this video, or if you enjoy hearing me talk about anything, I don't know, don't forget to like and subscribe and share. If you if you didn't enjoy this video, I'm sorry. I didn't enjoy the last 2 years. How about that? Sorry. But that's it. I post videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, except the first full week of the month, so I'll see you guys on Thursday. And yeah, I think that's it. Don't forget to take your meds, drink your water, and do something today to take care of yourselves. And hug your loved ones extra tight if you can. Okay, thanks, bye.